everyone, this is Josh Blatt with BW Modern. Today we're going to talk about placing objects into the designer. So an object would be anything that we'll find over here in our catalog, which would be the appliances or our cabinetry or our wall cabinets or our end panels and fillers. Anything that you want to bring into the designer and place on the wall. You know, your windows, your doors, things like that. So basically what we're going to do to bring anything into the designer to use it is we're going to find the component that we want to bring in, and I'm just going to find a base standard cabinet here, and I'm going to hover over it with my cursor, and once I do that it's going to give us a description of what it is. Now if I click it with my left click on my mouse and drag it over to the designer, then it's going to bring it into the designer. So now that we have it into the designer, if I want to move it left and right along the wall, I can click it with the left click on my mouse and move it back and forth along the walls, or I can move it to a different wall by doing it that way. Another way you can control the movement of this component is over here in the tab once that component's highlighted. So if I click on that component and I highlight it, over here in the left hand sidebar you'll see we have the options to move it to wall. So if I change this number to 0, you can see it's going to stick it in the left hand corner because it's 0 to that wall, and it's 162 inches to the other wall. Now if I change that side to say 24, it'll move it 24 inches out of that wall. So you can use this tool here to move things around in the designer. The other part of this that you can use is the wall offset tool. So this is what I would use if I wanted to turn this into an island, for say, and I want to place my first cabinet. So if I got my cabinet here, and say I use this angle rotation tab over here, and I rotate that component by 180 degrees, now it's facing the wall. Now say I want a 42-inch walkway in between my cabinets that are going on this wall and my island. So what I would do to get there is I'd take my calculator and I'd add up 24, which would be the depth of my base cabinets on the other wall, plus 42 inches, which would be my walkway, and that's going to give me a total of 66 inches. So now if I click this wall offset button and I turn that to 66, that's going to move that cabinet off of the wall that distance that we determined we wanted. And if I bring another cabinet in here and I stick it into this wall, you can see what I mean about creating our 42-inch walkway there. So that's how the wall offset tab works, and it'll tell you the distance from the other wall too. So that's a good one to use for, you know, placing island cabinets. Now if we drag an upper cabinet into the designer, same way, I'm going to select the component that I want to use, and I'm going to select a wall, one shelf. I'm going to click on it with the left clicker, and I'm going to bring it into the designer. With an upper, we have some more options over here, guys. So now the magic number to the bottom of an upper is 54 inches. What that's going to give you is it's going to give you 36 inches to your countertop and then 18 inches to the bottom of that upper, which is a pretty standard measurement you want to shoot for. I wouldn't suggest going any less than that. But to place this upper vertically, you can either click it and drag it up and down, which doesn't really give you too precise of a measurement, but you can move things. But if you really want to get precise with it, you got to go over here to the left hand sidebar and place it using the measurement that you want. So now we have an upper in there. That kind of goes over a couple things you can do to place objects in the designer. Now if I bring an object into the designer and it's overlapping another object, you can see here it turns bright red. So when things turn red in the 3D designer, that means they're not right. So you need to resolve something here. So if I simply left click it and I hold it and I slide it over, it'll kind of fix itself and it'll snap to the side of that cabinet. And you see here everything turned blue. So now that means we're good to go. We don't have any overlap issues. You can see up here we've got 18, 18. So if I click on this again, now that we have two components in there, you can see there's a new thing that popped up over here in the left hand sidebar for that cabinet component, and that's the closest tab. So it says 0 right now, but if I change this to 6, it's going to move it 6 inches away from the next closest component. So now you can see that that says 6. Now if I wanted to change that to 3, I could change it to 3, so on and so forth, and it's gonna space that cabinet that far. It's a good thing to look at. So if you're just cruising along and you've got a couple bases in there, and then say you've got an end panel and you want to put your base end panel in the model, and you get it into your design, it's good to really take a look at these things, and you can see with the closest tab that you're zeroed out and you don't have any space in between your components, because sometimes you can get stuck with like a 1/4 inch in between something and it's hard to see. But that's another layer of kind of protection to use to make sure that things are touching tight, and also you can use it to place your items.